We've reached the hour of 6 o'clock, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. Pursuant to Governor Baker's order of July 14, 2022, and revised order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, meetings of the Berkshire Hills Regional School District will be conducted both in person and remote until further notice. Agenda items listed are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, and not all items listed may in fact be discussed. Items not listed may be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. This meeting is being recorded by CTSB and the school committee recorder and will be broadcast. Once transcribed and approved, minutes will be made public and posted to our website. We'll start with a call of the roll. Steve Bannon, chair, is absent. I will be presiding in his absence. Corey Sprague.
Here.
Diane Singer.
Here.
William Voigt.
Here.
Bonnie Buffoni.
Here.
Jason St. Peter.
Here.
William Fields.
Here.
Ann Hutchinson.
Here.
Sarah Borla.
Here.
And Rich Mahoney is present. Do we have any meeting minutes in our package, Peter?
No, we didn't, and if it's okay, I'd like to address why.
Absolutely.
So it's taken us a little longer. Last meeting, we had some issues with sound quality. So as my speech teacher in high school told me, I'm going to encourage everybody to enunciate. And if anybody in the room wants to say something, whether it's a principal, an administrator, or somebody else, we're going to have you come and sit at the table. The other thing that's a little hard for people in our viewing audience is sometimes it's hard for them to tell who's speaking. And so we have the placards, but you can't really read the placard when you're at home. So if people could try to remember to introduce themselves when they're speaking, at least the first time, I think that would make it easier for people to follow. And then the one thing I'd share is sometimes a combination of masks and other things. We have a few quiet talkers in the room. And if
Like me.
Right. And if you remember the Seinfeld episode and what happened from the quiet talking, we know we don't want a quiet talk. Is that okay? And then the last thing to our viewing audience, if for some reason we have continued sound issues and you're not hearing us well at home, raise your hand and I'll recognize you, which will remind us to do a better job of enunciating.
All right, so there's no minutes to act on. Are we going to skip over the treasurer's report?
I think, yeah, let's skip over the treasurer's report. We've got 3 guest presenters who are our librarians, and because they have to wake up early and go back to school tomorrow, I'd like to start with them and then we'll work. All
right, so we'll move directly to the superintendent's report and take that in order that you so choose, Peter. So go ahead.
Okay, so give me just a sec. They put together what I think is, I hope you think is a really neat presentation, and give me just a sec to pull it. Yeah, I think it'd be really good if you're at the table or close to, and you can put them in either chair or you can stand, or close to the microphone. Just a sec. Okay. Great. So I'll turn it over to the 3 of you. We're joined by Claire Staunton, Sean, Jennifer Guerin, and Laura DuPont. Often we start presentations from the elementary school and work our way up. Today, we're going in the reverse direction and starting at the high school and working our way down.
But the middle school's always.
Right.
Hi, everybody. Well, thank you for having us. I think we went from high school down because I'm the older states person as the librarian, so I figured I would start us off. I'm kind of starting strong. It's my 25th year in the district. Can you order those?
They're also supply chain issues. You'll get your pen in 3 years.
But this is my 13th year as the librarian. So I've worked in the social studies department with Bill for a lot of years. So we started with this side, the many hats of a librarian, as I like to call us, with sort of uniform teachers and buildings, because we are the only ones who do our job. Everything from educating, teaching, to we actually run a library. We provide incredible amount of tech support, collection management. So we do a lot of things, and hopefully this presentation just kind of gives you a little bit of information about what we do. So we're starting at the high school. So this, I don't know, somewhere. I feel like,
Seen that picture before, so I'm guessing, yeah.
So I started this slide. This is from Twin Day last year. Really just because I deeply believe the library should be a student-centered facility. Next slide there. So the mission for the library, this is one I wrote several years ago. It's that the library is to be a student-centered facility for the pleasure and academic pursuits, and that supports learning and teaching and that library collection. So the students are always in the part of the library. All right, so I've got some stats here. I wanted to try to give you a little picture of pre-COVID and then where we are now. So in terms of student usage, from 2018, 2019, we were just before COVID, just over 26,000 students use the library. Last year, we were sort of semi-open, not fully open for a chunk of the year. This is where we were last year. And then this year, so far, we're at 10,000. So we're at a building year building the library. And in terms of classes that we're using the library, so just before COVID, we increased the number of classes, just under 700 classes. It's the library for all kinds of things that we teach and collaborate on, from researching to works cited pages, citations, to different tech tools, presentation tips. And then obviously you can see 21 COVID, not a lot of classes using it, a lot of classes just were not moving to the classroom. COVID regulations have this elsewhere in the building. And then this year, that's definitely in the rebuild process, bringing back in a number of classes. It's been exciting to have classes coming back. So Chromebook management is a huge part of our job now. So we in the library at the high school have a number of Chromebooks that students can come and check out for just a class period. Get theirs charge. So just before COVID, about 7,600 checkouts of that. Down a little bit during COVID because now what we are doing is within long-term. So they do not have their own device. This year, we've given out 8 Chromebooks to students that they can bring home. It's their year. So far this year, we've grown up to class periods just over.
I'm getting a little feedback from our viewing audience. That we could raise our
Sure.
volume.
Okay. So in terms of books in the print collection, just before COVID there, 2,300 books going out, went down, and during COVID, actually, because we weren't able to really rotate collection and move things through, And then this year, definitely that's a building process, getting the collection moving again, getting classes in, doing independent. See where that is. So new books added this year. So far, we've added 104 books. Just like everything else, their books have gone up in price. So that's, the budget line stays the same. Not able to quite get as many books. But I think all of our libraries are involved with the Mass Library System and their program of Sora, which is an app that our students can use to have access to over 20,000 ebooks and audiobooks. And then just a few other programming contributions to the broader school community. At lunchtime, we run all kinds of trivia contests and listening lunch programs where our student musicians come in and play. Coffee house lab that we set up. Student voice and choice, all kinds of ways in which I'm getting student input, whether it's different games or contests or voting situations, asking students what they would like to see in the library. For those of you that have been in the area for a while, you may remember the old Down Valley lecture series where we had some incredible speakers coming in and talking to our students. We don't quite have, obviously, the budget that had. We're still bringing in different speakers to the Arts and Ideas Forum. This year is Marty Barron, who's the former editor of the Washington Post. If you've ever seen Spotlight, that's him. I know he came in, this was last spring, and spoke to our journalism classes. We run our annual chess tournament. We want to put your son Nick there, former champ. This will be the 10th year. We're just starting that right now.
That's really good, manager.
Yeah. And we've also been bringing in some different new furnishings. We've got these private study panels, which are really a big hit. And we love those 4 chairs. Love to get more of those. It is, yeah. Yeah, that's right. I didn't even think about that. I should have brought in some sprigs.
I'm not gonna- I'm not gonna shut
up.
You're hitting all the buttons.
And then lastly, before we transition to Jennifer, so this summer Jennifer and I, through the summer PD work, did start to work on creating some library proficiencies that will sort of guide our work.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, everyone. It's really nice to be here. Nice to meet you all. I'm Jennifer Gehrman. I am, I still say I'm the new librarian. It's my 2nd year. I guess because it's the Berkshires, I should say that. I think it's been like 20 years before I can stop saying I'm here, right? But this is my 2nd full year at Du Bois. Really enjoy the position. I really want to say, thanks to the district for supporting the middle school library. So I have, I drafted up a mission statement for the library with Kara and I are working together this summer. Just really similar, vibe and feel, and I want to echo what Kara said about the importance of creating library as a safe and inclusive space for students. It's really the main mission, especially in the middle school years, which can be really tough for a lot of students, to make sure the space feels welcoming for them. And also just realizing that lifelong learning takes a lot of modeling and cultivation and encouragement, trying to help students develop good habits and build information, media literacy, and through all the different ways that. So I made this pretty visual heavy because I like you to see what happens in your district library. So we don't have, our students obviously in middle school don't have a lot of free periods. It's not like they can just stop in the library for study for an hour or two. So their main time to visit the library to be social and or independent reading is at lunch. So you'll see some photos here of students just gathering, playing games, and whatever during their lunchtime. To the next slide. I estimate, so I have a pretty basic sign-in system at this point, which is just sign in on a clipboard. And I have to admit that I did not count up every name on the clipboard before I came tonight, so I kind of averaged. And it looks like between drop-in visits during the day and lunch this year, we are at about 4,000 individual student in and out visits into the library. For a small school, It's really good. You know, we've got puzzles. You can see some students are working on a poetry unit with Shakespeare folks. We have crafts. We have just individual time. Next slide. And then when we think about collection and sort of primary book checkouts, I feel like there's a good trend for us. This is only my second year. I did run a report of the pre-COVID, excuse me, 18-19 school year. There were 1,600, almost 1,700 total checkouts. Then there was the 19-20 year, and then last year, which was my first year, I think people were just so excited to be back in school, have access to a library. You know, we've got phenomenal leadership last year, up to over 3,000. And this year so far, you know, more than half of that. So I feel like it's a good trend. Students are excited to be back. And this picture, actually, this is a picture of the new smart TV. The smart TV in the library, but we love to run the fireplace, the snow, the smooth jazz, and these students can read the cafe atmosphere. Another part of improving circulation is actually taking items out of the library. So I do want to highlight this because it can be really emotional and difficult for people to know that taking items away from the library actually helps. But as soon as I arrived, I had 3,100 books, many of which were over 30 or 40 years old from the collection. And basically, these are some of my favorites here. I think Sam first actually took the teenage professional wrestling. I am a teenage professional wrestler, and he has that in his room as a souvenir. But what it does really is it opens up the shelves and the space for students to see the new items that we have and give them access to them. And then the second thing we did reading that was a really big deal was I got some great help from fellow teachers this year, and we moved literally every single copy of every book. We rearranged the library into genres, so the fiction section is now organized and color coded by the type of book. It used to be organized by the author's last name, and most of the scholars don't know the names of all the authors they like, and so this makes it allow us. Next slide. So just quickly, because I don't want to take too much more time, we do run the book fair annually, and I know Nancy ran it for many years. This was my second year. It is exhausting, but really fun for the students. We did over $5,000 in sales in 4 days, both years. And with Scholastic, you get to keep 25% of that in cash. You get to keep more if you buy your items from Scholastic, but their items don't tend to be as sturdy and like good for circulation in the library. So I tend to keep a portion in cash. Fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth grade, we do the program a little differently for education. In fifth grade, I do a program called Leveling Up the Library Skills. They come in, we play games, we practice, we do scavenger hunts. At the end of the year, this year, I hope to be stuff and learned how to use the catalog and all that kind of stuff. Next slide. We introduced Sora just last week. You can see the success and excitement that people are feeling when they log in for the first time. Sixth graders get into research a little bit more. What's a database? How do we do research? How do we know we can trust information? Next slide. Seventh and eighth graders, it's more teacher collaboration and visits. Because of the district exploratory schedule, I was also asked to teach exploratory sections this year. So I actually have these mini classes, like 15 class periods with seventh graders. I teach them how to build a nice simple Google site. With eighth graders, they're learning how to make context. So just that. And these we can go through pretty quickly. Just two different pictures of the Mohican Journey exhibit that came through last year in partnership with Sheffield Historical Society. Next slide. Celebrating our school's namesake. Royce's great grandson and great grandson came last year. He's a student, wonderful. Memoir cafes, book tasting, and turning the library into a cafe and having students come in and give each other comments on their work and comments on chocolate, which was fun. And then I loved this because I just love this title. I did something for Halloween called Teachers Are Scary, and all the teachers picked a day and came in and read scary stories to the students. Mr. Peck and Mr. Kingston really took that to the next level. Beautiful. And, bookmark coloring contest, next slide. Book clubs meet on Wednesdays, smaller groups, but this is just the students who are really fired up, about reading together. And the next slide, you can see some of the books that we read on this year. And I think last slide is Berkshire Book Club. And the last slide is what's up and coming. Student book review system, students recommending books to each other. That's how we get them to read. And then a few other things.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Last but not least. So again, thank you for having us. I'm Laura Dupont, if you don't know me, and this is actually my 26th year with the district, believe it or not. Crazy. But my first year, I got my pen. It's gold. It's on my shelf in the kitchen. But this is my first year as the Money Book librarian. My last 25 years, I have taught kindergarten and first grade for 25 years, and I have decided to take on a challenge this year and try something new and challenge myself in my career a little bit. So this is a mission that I wrote for our Muddy Brook School, and I think it's really reflective of what the high school and middle school also do. My main goal as coming into the library this year was to really create that student-friendly environment. And to me, that was the most important. And we have an absolutely beautiful library. It's a beautiful room, but it wasn't feeling to me like it was student-friendly. It felt like a big library with big chairs, big tables, and we have little people in our building. We have young, small students in the building. So I wanted to make it more accessible and more friendly for them. Bring some color into it and create an environment where they felt welcome and warm and comfortable. So it's about the children. If you turn to the next slide, Peter, I'm going to give you a little bit of history because I feel like Muddy Brook really took a hit in our library because of COVID. So just to give you a little background information, and I'm sure you know some of this, but in March 13th of 2020, obviously the library closed along with the schools. And we did not re-enter the building that year. And in June of that year, our longtime librarian, Penny Melville, retired. So not only did our school close, but we lost our wonderful librarian that we had for many, many years who ran a beautiful library. In the 2021 school year, we did hire a new librarian to start the year. However, due to COVID restrictions and trying to get the kids back in the building, and making smaller class sizes, our librarian was pulled from the library and she was put into a classroom and she taught in the classroom for a year. So our library was really, we didn't have a librarian. And what we did is we took turns as classroom teachers, bringing our classes up to the library, letting our kids access the materials to bring back to the classrooms. And many of the materials didn't even go home at that time because of COVID and we didn't want them to leave the building. So we had a part-time to full-time paraprofessional who was also assigned to the library to really help with that. So he did a lot of processing of the books and managing the full-ed system and checking the books in and checking books out of the teachers. But it was really up to the teachers to bring the children up to the library to access the materials. And then last year, same thing. The year 21-22, we also had no librarian last year. And we managed the library like we did the year before. Classroom teachers brought kids up. You had about 30 minutes to have your kids be exposed to the library, find materials they wanted to use and bring them back, sit and start taking them home. And we had the same paraprofessional who was becoming more fluent with the full-ed system, again, manage the books for us and checking them in and checking them out. But again, no librarian last year. So that brings us to this year. And that's where I came in. We now have a part-time librarian. So I am in the library, but I'm officially only part-time librarian. In the morning, I am part-time reading interventionist for kindergarten and first grade students. And then in the afternoon, I am a part-time librarian and I see students in our PK, our EK, our K, and our 1 classes. I spent the summer, this past summer, I spent the entire summer, I think I was there the entire summer, it feels like it. cleaning, reorganizing, ordering books, taking books off the shelf, and really trying to bring our library back to life for our students. It was something that we were really missing, we really needed. We needed to remember with beautiful room back to life. So I did that this summer, and now I'm in there part-time. But only being part-time, I'm teaching part-time, but I am still managing the system. I'm dealing with everyday library issues like lost books, reshelving books, ordering books, repairing books, and so forth. So all those kind of management skills that you need to have with a librarian, I'm still trying to cover those pieces as well. In order to bring it a little bit more back to life, I also incorporated some more things like some quiet activities for students to do and enjoy, like puzzles. I made a Lego table, which they love. We have coloring activities, we have dot to dots, we have word searches, things like that. So when the kids do come to the library, they have some nice, quiet, engaging activities to do while they're there. Not just get a book and leave, but also enjoy the space while they're there. We currently have a part-time paraprofessional who's there 4 mornings a week. She's there Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday mornings, and she helps manage the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade classes. So they still come to the library. They have a scheduled 30 minutes every week, but they don't have any instruction with me. So again, their classroom teachers bring them, and the para is there to manage the ins and outs of the books that they take. Sorry, I jumped. Thank you. So I don't really have too many pre-COVID statistics, but I can tell you what we currently have. So this is my current student population that comes in and out of the library. So again, in grades PK through 1, I am their librarian and I do a lesson with them, and they come visit me for about 45 minutes. They have a 45-minute period where they come have a library class led by me. And I see 11 classes a week, and that's roughly 165 students that I am teaching in the library. Grades 2 through 4 also have a scheduled time. They have a 30-minute scheduled visit to the library every week, and they come with their classroom teacher, and they are supported by the library para. That is a total of 12 classes that do that, and that's about 209 students in the 2 through 4 grades. So that's a total of 374 students that rotate in and out of the library every week, and each student has about 1 or 2 books a week that they take up and enjoy. For me, I was really going to try to build and connect what my PK through 1st grade colleagues do in their curriculum to what I do in the library. And with my 25 years of experience in kindergarten and 1st grade, I felt like that was going to be an easy thing for me to do, and I'm really enjoying it. So what I'm trying to do with my lessons when I do see my students is complement the current curriculum, and I'm trying to meet the standards that were put down by the Massachusetts School Library Association. So a combination of those. So when they come to see me, we do a lot of early literacy things like fiction versus nonfiction. We do stories about rhyming, story sequencing, recall, cause and effect, making connections to literature and stories. We're talking about character settings, where are the problems, where are the solutions in stories. And even, we kind of fill in some with some colors and numbers and shapes and patterns and some of those kinds of math skills too. I do themes around holidays and seasons and special events. I'm trying to do stories that complement our social emotional learning with things like kindness, friendship, inclusion, etc. And I try to do an author study once a month where I'm trying to introduce them to specific children's authors that they might enjoy. And that's all. It's more of the world. Big green monster, and they made their own monsters. I added some new furnishings to the library this year, again, in my attempts to make it more kid-friendly. So we have more flexible seating available. I ordered some with my budget. I have cubes that are around the library. We have scoop chairs that we can sit in on the floor. And then some of the other things, like some of our stools and rockers, were donated to us through the SEL grant. So that's nice to have in there. And then we've also added some furniture. So there's my wonderful Lego table. I paid $5 for that table at a tag sale this summer, and I added the Legos to the top. And voila, and it is the most popular item in the library this year. I also ordered a nice colorful rug, so we have a nice space to gather. And I don't know if you've been in our library in a long time, but we used to have these big, large computer tables, big white, large computer tables that were not kid-size friendly. So I asked them to be removed this summer, and we put some regular sized tables with regular chairs for them to do things like puzzles and drawing and word searches. So some changes there. Our library is a shared space. So in case you weren't aware, we have early drop-off programs. So some of our students will drop off early at 8 o'clock, and we have different programs both in our gym and in our library. So depending on where the student wants to go, sometimes they go to the gym and do activities, or sometimes they come up to the library. So we have early drop-off in the library between 8 and 8:35, anywhere between 2 to 5 days a week. And then after school, we also host Project Connection, or we give them a space, I guess, to host their program, I should say. So from 3:30 to 5, 3 to 4 days a week, we also have some Project Connection programs that are using and utilizing the space. A big project we have going right now that I'm really proud of and I want to share with you is our ability to connect with our community. And as a specialist in my building, the other specialists and myself run a community connections period. So every day from 2:30 to 3:15, we have community connections where we have different grades come to us and we host a program with them or activities with them. And one big program we have going right now that's highly effective, or highly connected to my library is we reached out to our local town librarians, children's librarians. So Lori Harrison from Great Barrington, Housatonic, Rachel Nicholson from Stockbridge, and Vicki Hooper from West Stockbridge have all come and visited with all the grades, EK through 4. And they came and they read with our students. They explained their programs and what their town libraries have to offer our students. And we are currently in the process of getting town library cards in the hands of as many students as we can. So if they didn't already have a town library card, we passed out applications. I'm collecting them. I'm bringing them to the town libraries. They're processing them. I'm picking them up. And it's a big rotation right now. But we have processed over 50 cards for students to date that hopefully they will have and have available to them for the summer. Because the librarians also plan to come back and visit us again this spring and be able to tell our students about what their summer programs look like and what they can do over the summer to visit libraries there. So we're really proud of this project and it went really well and the kids are super excited at the cards. I just wanted to share this with you because this actually just occurred on Tuesday. I got some mail and I was very surprised to see this. But very, very pleased. So many of you probably remember Sue McBeatty, who was a longtime wonderful early childhood educator in our district. And she retired many years ago. But she just recently published a new book called Breakfast with Lola. And I noticed it online on Facebook. Her son had advertised it on Facebook and I congratulated her. And sure enough, Tuesday don't I get in the mail 3 copies of 3 of her books that she has published. So she sent this to me with a beautiful card asking me to please donate it to our library. And I'm really pleased to get that and thrilled to share with the students. And I just want to share that because that's just another way that our community is so good to us and our schools. So I want to thank Sue for that. It was a lovely gift for our library. Up next at Muddy Brook, Read Across America Week is coming up the week after our February break. So from February 27th through March 3rd is Read Across America. And we are currently in the process of trying to get that up and running and organized. And I want to thank my colleague and fourth grade teacher, Carrie Manzini, because she really started the ball rolling with this. And I'm jumping on board and helping her out, but she has really gotten the ball rolling. And some things we have already in the works are we have a scheduled virtual visit with Mary Poe Osborne. She's going to come on a Thursday, the 2nd, and do a virtual visit with our entire building. She did it last year, so she's coming back for the 2nd year, so that's really exciting. And she's going to talk about one of the books that she has written. And then Berkshire Theater Group is coming the next day, Friday, and they are actually going to do a performance of one of Mary Poe Osborne's books for the students. So it's a nice connection between the author and then seeing her book performed. And along with her visit, just like last year, she is actually donating some of her books to every student in our building. So every one of our students will go home with 1, possibly 2 books based on her donation. So that's super generous. So those are the highlights of our week. And again, we're kind of in the process of planning, but we are also looking for any guest readers. So I'm throwing that out here to this table. If you would like to come to Muddy Brook that week and be a guest reader with our young students, I would love to hear from you, and you're welcome to email me and I'll set you up with the next guest reader.
Great.
And I think that's it.
Yep. Thanks so much. Are there questions? Anybody else? Reactions?
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah,
Thank you.
really. Okay. I'm super psyched about that. We haven't had the librarians in for maybe 10 years to do a whole overview, and the work they do is really significant and impactful.
Definitely.
Are we allowed that from school?
Yeah.
Oh, we're out of the schools because of COVID in terms of ethnicity. I've gone to see the documentaries and
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. As a matter of fact, you saw some meetings nowadays.
Some of us like to get back to doing that.
So
Yeah.
maybe you should
Yeah.
really consider those.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
It would be fun.
Yeah.
Great.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
So what I think makes sense now is to go back to the top of the agenda and work through it. So we changed our good news to roses and thorns. And let's do that. Katie, why don't you come up to the table and share anything you want to share? And we'll go building by building this way from the elementary school up to the high school.
Okay, so let's see, roses, we just heard about the cleaning for the New Cross America, but we're looking forward to a start to the concerts again coming back. So the kids are very excited to have their parents come and see them again playing music. So it's been going very, very well. Music. Probably our biggest thorn is our offices. We're down a secretary. We had interviews Tuesday night. Reached out to one of the candidates and asked her to take the position, and we're just talking to them more about that. So hopefully that will change. But often our biggest thorns are just trying to get people into positions. So we're getting there. Still have a couple.
Okay.
Library, so, are there any plans in the budget for us to go back to full?
We didn't put it into the current.
But as we go through the process, right, it's something we could talk about. Great, thanks. How about what's going on to boys?
So we had this report. They were most people. But yeah, they went pretty smooth and slideshows. So that made it easy to just move it to. A lot of students found that it was nice. Also, first we gave them because of the snow. But a lot of kids felt comfortable around their parents. On to social justice had some training about microaggressions and competition with the school through, and we found that the training didn't fit our school as well as we wanted. That just thought it was too slow paced and didn't explain things thoroughly enough for our students to understand. So we're coming up with it so that kids in the school can understand. This week there was a transfer of Spanish speaking things and communicate things
to add to that also, we have every year Bernice Lewis is a child Holocaust survivors coming to talk about the theory. She's an artist and singer-songwriter. She's really amazing. Just to hear the family stories and songs that she's written. She's just enriching kids. And then today and tomorrow, staff training. So professionals, administrators, and teachers. It's good. At the middle school, we had a start of it in the fall to try and do started practices students and staff, we just found it was and we're really training just for environments and students to step up. One, some of the training, really, from 3 schools. So we take that staff and step into students.
Okay, so I'm getting feedback that it's hard to hear you, Ben, and the students, so you got nothing much
And nothing more
to say, but let's try to talk even louder.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a. Cool. High school, Christy, are you there? Do you want to add something?
Hi, can you hear me? So I have several items that I will share. Our subgroups met today, and the committees have been reflecting on items that they accomplished over the first semester and things that they're planning for second semester. They actually are going to be sharing that out with the full student body at this coming Tuesday's advisory, where we will also be welcoming our French exchange students that are coming next week. So we're really excited to welcome them to the community. And I feel like I had one more thing I told the students to share, but I can't remember. So I apologize for that. I think the thorn for the week was that we were not able to have our PD that we had worked really hard to develop with students in partnership yesterday. And that got postponed till February 8th. But that the focus of that work is going to be around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we are going to be having a Kiva panel where students are going to share stories and perspectives. So we're looking forward to doing that on our next half-day PD. Thanks.
Great, thanks. And I just have one thing to add. We heard from the Innovative Pathways people, which support interesting work, and we got 2 additional grants today, another $25,000, and then they added to one we already had, another $35,000, so a total of $60,000 for innovative pathway work at the high school, which is great, and we appreciate their support. The next thing that's in your packet is there's a proposed vote around a memorandum of understanding with Unit C. There are 2 positions at the high school, at the high school and middle school, directed study supervisors. That position exists, but it has not existed at the elementary school. And we'd like to activate it there with grant funds for this year. Because we've not filled one of these positions from scratch in quite a long time, the MOU increases the starting rate to $17 per hour. And then the accompanying rates for the current directed study supervisors would go up from the 3% raise they earned to a 6% this year, which is consistent with what we've done for similar positions as we've made adjustments. So if it so pleases you, I'd love somebody to make a motion to adopt, I guess it's adopt or adapt, whatever.
Do we have a motion to endorse the proposed memorandum of understanding?
Make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding of BHEA Unit C, directed study supervisors.
Is there a second?
Second,
Any discussion?
what does a directed study supervisor do?
I mean, it's an interesting title, it's sort of a funny title, and I could share the job description with you, but I don't have it in front of me. They play a significant role around school climate and culture and follow up around some behavioral issues, but as we shift towards more of a restorative practices model, it's a little less about the catching people and more about redirecting people.
When I was at the high school, I used to take a number of kids who were having behavioral problems and work with them individually. They actually serve as tutors in some cases. I've seen some real success stories. One girl who actually was directed, who was she would probably be expelled. She was directed to gardening, the Berkshire Botanical Center. And the person who was the director, the study supervisor, directed study supervisor, basically saved her. And Sarah Mead is doing it now and is doing an excellent job. And she was part of that whole process of getting the student to be aware that there were repercussions to behavior and also putting her in a positive direction. So I think it's really a good program. So.
Good. Any other comments from the school committee? I think it's a collective bargaining agreement, so we do a roll call vote. Steve Bannon is absent. Corey Sprague.
Aye.
Diane Singer.
Yes.
William Voigt.
Yes.
Bonnie Bon Buffoni.
Aye.
Jason St. Peter.
Aye.
William Fields.
Yes.
Ann Hutchinson.
Yes.
Sarah Borla.
Aye.
And I vote yes, it's unanimous.
Okay, thank you for your support on that. The next one is a request and potential vote for a waiver for middle school students, really 7th and 8th graders, to participate on the high school tennis team. There's a waiver proposal in your packet, and both Carl, the athletic director, and Christy, the principal, are on the call and could speak to it. This is within the timelines for the state and the MIA process. What's a little challenging is at a previous meeting, the school committee had expressed interest in drafting some procedures and or policies around this. One way to potentially consider this, and then I'll turn it over to them, is to entertain proceeding as a pilot project while we concurrently develop processes and procedures going forward. The other option would be to not do that and wait to entertain this till we have those processes and procedures in hand. But I think you could choose to pilot it this year as the concurrent work is happening around processes and procedures. Either Carl or Christy, do either of you want to speak to this directly? I know we've got some folks also in the room who are interested in this and might want to speak to it.
I would just say that our numbers have been so low for the last 3 years. We've been unable to field the boys tennis team. So we were, looking at the middle school, like many other schools around the county and the PVIAC do, to supplement their team so they're able to field a team at the high school level. They look towards middle school students. So that's why we're looking at tennis for this spring for a middle school waiver.
Peter. It's Christy.
Go ahead.
I would just add that we are putting in, if this is approved, to the league for both girls and boys. But because of the numbers, we're not sure if girls will actually be approved, but we would request for both, even though it's the numbers in boys that are really low.
The only other thing I would add, Peter, is there really is no youth tennis like Little League or Who's Hoops. So there's really nothing like that exists that we would be taking away from. So it just seemed like a good fit at this time to try to get some of the middle school kids involved with tennis at the high school level.
Yeah, and presumably doing that doesn't just add numbers to the team, but it builds a deeper bench. Any questions? Is it okay to?
Ben, do you have any thoughts on?
Not at all. Carl and Christy and Peter have reviewed it with me and I'm in full favor.
I think Joe might have been interested too.
Okay, well, why don't we recognize school committee members first, see if they have questions or concerns or anything?
I guess I would just echo Peter in setting this up. I think there were enough concerns raised. This came up for discussion in the summer, and there were a lot of things that still needed to be addressed. And so I certainly don't want to get in the way of getting more kids involved in something, but expressing my disappointment that it hasn't happened up until this point. And that's in addition to having lots of reminders and questions about when that's going to happen.
Okay.
Anybody else, school committee online there?
I'm not seeing anything from any school committee members online. There is an audience member who has a question if you're.
Well, why don't we move to audience members, but Mr.
Start
Chinetti is
with-
here first. Did you have any?
No, I'm just taking it in. I kind of agree with what Carl had said and Christie. And I'm just sort of learning a little bit more about and trying to find a little bit more about the, procedures and processes. So for now, I do not have any questions.
Okay. You know, to recognize some.
Yeah, so online, there are at least two people who'd like to talk. I'll start with Stacy Schultz and then we'll go to Scott Anand.
Hi, thank you. Stacy Schultz from Otis. Both my children attend Monument. I just have a couple questions about this policy, and obviously you have to start somewhere. So I want to say that I support Peter's interpretation of, rolling out, a litmus test program to see how this goes. But I don't know how or why the decision is made to join with other high school teams, some sports and not others, and if that was considered for this. And my other question is, if we're adding tennis as an option for middle schoolers, why not other sports? And that kind of leads to an earlier conversation that was brought up in a school committee meeting about safety, physical safety, and limiting future opportunities for kids due to injuries. But I also want to stress that there are social emotional injuries that could occur by not being able to participate on a team sport. So there's a lot of positives to allowing kids to get involved, especially at the middle school age, that I think should be considered in the conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, I can respond to a couple of things. The decision around co-op sports, so, and I think I'll get this right, but Carl, correct me if I miss any. So football's a co-op with Mount Everett, and then crew is a co-op with Lennox. Ice hockey is a co-op with Mount Everett. Swimming we host as a co-op. Carl, am I missing any?
Yeah, Mount Everett hosts us for hockey.
Yeah, right.
And we host Mount Everett for football. Crew's not an MIAA sport, but Lennox hosts us. And the way the co-op works, you have to apply for that too. And if you don't have the numbers at your school and there's interest from a neighboring school that would like to join, then you can apply for a co-op. And with Mount Everett in football, it works. Our numbers are low, so we host them. And with ice hockey, their numbers are low, so they host our kids, and it just gives kids opportunities to play sports where their school might not offer them.
I think the question specifically was, did we explore that with tennis? We had a numbers problem with tennis.
Right, so we don't have enough tennis boys that want to participate. So whether we could ask Mount Everett to host our middle school tennis boys, but I don't think that's possible. It doesn't work like a co-op. If we want to introduce middle school students to our high school programs, it has to be through our school. It's just a different agreement.
Can I jump in? This is Christy.
Yeah.
I think that there is in order to develop a co-op, there has to be a school that has low enough numbers that they're searching for another school with low enough numbers that the two schools are going to agree. So we have low numbers in tennis, but like, for example, if Lee does not have low numbers in tennis and we ask them if we can co-op with them, they're not going to say yes because their numbers do not support the need for them to bring students from our school to their program, right? The middle school waivers, again, there's very strict guidelines from the MIAA around the expectations around participation that would justify the league actually voting in favor of this, which is why I highlighted that we decided we would like to apply for both girls and boys, but it is very likely the league will not approve girls and will only approve boys because it is based on the numbers of students participating.
Okay, thanks. The other one who was hoping to speak was Scott Annan. Scott, let me try to give you permission to speak. Scott, can you speak or not now? Okay, Scott.
Hands up. Give him a minute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, very clearly.
Okay, well, so Scott Annan, longtime teacher, coach in Berkshire Hills. And, you know, historically, Berkshire Hills has had very little issues of filling teams and getting participants in there. But at Monument Mountain, our population of students has gone dramatically down. At some point in time, we were at 700. Now we're at about 470, 480. And I do think it's time that we explore this. We look at pilot programs. We set up parameters to help even younger people, young student athletes get involved and be able to have them have an opportunity to help, you know, maintain and even enhance programs for sports that don't have a youth feeder program, don't have just a program with long history. And I do think it's time to look at this and just to let everyone know that only the two Pittsfield high schools, they're the only two who don't have 7th and 8th graders participating in sports. Now, some of them are within the same building, but if you look up here in Dalton and Wacona, for certain sports, they allow 7th and 8th graders to participate and got the waiver. I think it's time for Berkshire Hills to look at that. As a coach of female runners in the fall, I know next year my numbers will be down to 10. And it's not a sport with inherent fun. You have to work and you have to run. And I'd love to see tennis get a shot at that. I'd love to see how many 7th and 8th graders would like to participate in these. And I think we look at just continuing to do what Berkshire Hills has already done and look at opportunities for their students and student athletes.
Okay. Thank you, Scott. Any other questions or thoughts people have on this?
I want to make sure it's clear that this is boys and girls. It says that in the top, but then it goes down to talk about boys.
So I understand Christy to say we're authorizing for both, but there's a probability that it may just be boys. But I think we can authorize it for all and see how the process, if that's
Why
what
would
we
it just be boys?
because where girls do not remember from.
Right, but if girls wanted to do it, won't they be just as welcome to come play tennis as?
I think the tension is we would equally welcome boys and girls, but this is tied, and Carl, you could speak to this. This is tied to a local MIAA approval process, and their guidelines may prevent them. If one of the reasons to approve it is tied to the number of participants, and they're already in their mind a large number of girls participating, then they might not approve it for girls and only for boys.
So would that change each year if there was a lower
Yeah, I
participation?
think,
for
yeah, I think part of the
girls?
waiver process is you have to do it.
Do it each time?
For each season.
Yeah.
And one more thing that's on the side of this, but if there was a bus that went home after sports practices, more kids could participate.
Yeah, no, and we're working on that. I think we can get that right.
Somewhere in the proposal, I thought I read that this was being done for a 2-year cycle.
It is, I'm sorry, Peter. It would be a 2-year waiver, but if let's say our boys were approved for a 2-year waiver and our girls weren't, we could reapply next year for our girls as well, based on our numbers. It's all about the numbers of registrations each season. But we are right now, we are applying for boys and girls middle school waiver. We're on the agenda for the next AD meeting at the PVIAC. And if they approve us, then it goes to the MIAA.
But I would like to retain the whatever supremacy of the school committee, whether if the MIA grants it for a year and you're doing it for 2 years and you're doing it as a pilot for 1 year, just because the MIA says you have permission, doesn't mean you as a school committee have to give permission.
Somebody makes a motion, maybe that should be included in the motion.
Yeah.
Peter, I don't know if I'm still talking. You can hear me, I guess.
No, I should. Go ahead quickly, Scott, but.
I just a thought process on this. Have we even done any kind of polling to see if any 7th and 8th graders have an interest in male or female tennis?
Yeah, Carl, can you speak to that?
We haven't, just because we're waiting for approval to go forward. We have not really reached out to anybody in the middle school.
Okay, thank you.
I can tell you anecdotally that there are 8th graders who are interested in tennis.
Okay.
Just from having an 8th grader.
Yeah. So would somebody be interested in making a carefully worded motion around this?
I'll give it a whirl. I vote we approve allowing 7th and 8th graders to participate in both boys and girls tennis at the varsity level at the high school for the next, for this coming spring season 2023 to be revisited next year.
For a second?
Second. I can't put varsity in there though. It's tennis.
Okay.
It is varsity because we don't really have a JV. So it's considered a varsity sport.
Well, I said my comment to it, and everybody else's comment as well. I've been slow coming to this, letting the middle schoolers participate. You asked me 2 years ago, I was a hard no in all of this. I echo Corey's concerns that if we do take this incremental step, I don't think there should be any further steps till there's a full vetting of policies and procedures and thought behind it. I would suggest the May 11th meeting for a presentation from the administration for policies and procedures around this to set us up for plenty of time before the fall season comes again. That's just a suggestion though. From my perspective, as long as I'm on the school committee, it will be a sport by sport analysis. I think there's some sports that aren't appropriate for this. I think there's some that are. And I think tennis falls in the category that is. And besides all the other kind of intrinsic natures of the sport, you know, sometimes sports do have to die. I mean, sometimes things come and go in life, and that's fine. And I think some sports more than others are worth preserving. And I think tennis being a lifetime sport is something that is worth preserving. And so that's one of the reasons I would be willing to go this extra step on that. Any comments?
I would just like to thank Christy, Carl, and Ben for going out on the limb for doing what's best for the students. And taking this chance. I think it's proven for 50 years, all these schools, majority of Western Mass, It allows 7th, 8th graders to play. They all had the opportunity to say no. They could bail at any time. None of them have. So to each of those schools, the positives outweigh the negatives. I agree, there's a lot, obviously some concerns, but with Rich on sport by sport, year by year basis, I think it's, allowing, we have a great AD and Carl, great principals. Trust them, let them lead the way and make the approvals as they come.
Okay, on the motion, Steve Bannon is absent, Corey Sprague,
Aye.
Diane Singer,
Yes.
William Boyd,
Yes.
Bonnie Bonifoni,
Aye.
Jason St. Peter,
Aye.
William Fields,
Committee knows where I stand on this, no.
Ann Hutchinson,
Aye.
Sarah Boral,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you. And obviously we'll expedite the work around policies and procedures and bring that back to the committee.
Yeah.
How many students are required to have a team?
There's 5 starting positions, I think 3 single, or no, 7, 3 singles and 2 doubles. So, 1, 4, 5, 6.
And I think there have been times when we didn't fill every position, but we still did it.
And some singles play doubles too. So
Yeah.
you don't need that exact number.
I don't think you can, I think they all play at the same exact time, so I don't think you can like play singles, first singles and then second doubles. Maybe Carl can speak to that. I'm
No,
pretty sure.
they do play at the same time, but we've feel, we try to find opportunities for kids. If we have 1 or 2 boys that want to play tennis, we'll put them in an exhibition match to keep them active. We do everything we can to make it work.
Okay, great, thank you. The next thing is just a little update on the regional school district planning board work that continues. They're alternating between their whole group meetings and their maybe 3 or 4 subcommittees. And they're slowly chipping away at the draft regional agreement in anticipation of completing that. And then doing some additional outreach and trying to schedule a vote. So that work goes on. The quick update on the MSBA process, Steve finished his maintenance report, right?
Indeed, I did.
So Steve finished his maintenance report. We'll be submitting that. We're waiting to hear back, and I think I shared this at the last meeting, from the MSBA in terms of an enrollment letter. And they're also exploring the numbers connected to an 8-town versus a 3-town high school. So we'll move forward with that I'll share more information as we get it. I think that's it for me.
Peter, has there been any discussion since I asked a question last time in which the statutory requirement for a town meeting?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, maybe I told you individually, but I didn't share it publicly. The statutory requirement for the regional agreement is a town meeting. The conversation that they had, which is yet to be resolved, is the complexity of explaining the potential merger of 2 districts is such that some people on the committee think it would be hard to do that on top of a regular town meeting, and there's some interest in doing a special town meeting. In some of the towns like Great Barrington, just a regular town meeting could be 3+ hours, and having a big conversation about merging 2 districts on the same night on top of that could be untenable. In some of our other communities, I've gone to the West Stockbridge town meeting, and on a good night, it's all of half an hour, right? So
the approval process to form a regional agreement is approval at town meeting.
Correct.
Majority vote or is it supermajority?
I don't want to speak to it because I got too much in my head right now. I can't work.
And does every town have to approve it, or if one doesn't, are they just not in?
My understanding, and we could have the regional school districts planning boards attorney formally respond to this, but my understanding is if one town voted it down and they're not in, and ironically, the consequence for voting something down would be that you need to have a tuition agreement with the new district that you just decided you didn't want to be part of.
Yeah, but what if one of our 3 towns voted it down? I wouldn't want to tear down this district to join another district.
Yeah.
Maintaining the integrity of the Berkshire Hills Regional School District, 3 towns that have strongly been together and delivered one of the arguably the most successful school districts in the state, I think is paramount.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think also preserving the opportunity with the MSBA is, if 2 things
Oh,
are
that's
paramount, they're both paramount.
Yeah. I didn't mean to go outside track.
Yeah, okay, so that's it for me, Mr. Acting Chair, subcommittee reports.
Policy Subcommittee.
I think it's Steve chairs it. We have not met.
Okay, not met. Buildings and Grounds.
Have not met.
Superintendent's evaluations.
Not bad.
Finance, we have not met, but we're meeting next time around. Should have some work to report on after that. Negotiation Subcommittee. Oh, it's Steve, yes, and they did not meet.
Yeah.
Personnel report.
This is really a lot of project connections and extracurricular appointments.
Happy to see a real focus on gender equity in the selection of the women's coaching staff for the spring sports season.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And are there 3 girl softball coaches, that there's so many of them?
I think one's gonna be the JV. I don't know that, like Carl or something.
I don't know if Carl's still.
There traditionally is 3 softball coaches, and one of them does a JV, and 2 of them are in the varsity.
Okay.
Now, there's a meeting on co-curriculars next Wednesday, right? On all of this?
It got moved.
Yeah, 15, something like that,
Yeah.
14, 15,
Yeah.
14.
2 weeks.
Yeah, it's about 2 weeks out.
Yeah.
Do you want the actual date?
Okay.
Do you want to be added to that committee? I mean, there's no,
It's
that's,
Tuesday the 14th at
Tuesday,
3:30.
no, I'll just listen.
Okay. So that's it for personnel report, business operations, Karen.
I don't have anything to report.
That's good. Education news, Peter.
Everybody's learning a lot. I should have gotten upstairs. I have nothing to report.
Yes. I think that is ongoing learning, an opportunity for you to enlighten us as to progressions in the educational industry.
No, so what's really interesting, and you might all want to fool around with it, is this whole artificial intelligence chat GPT. And I'm not ready to make a formal recommendation on it, but there's sort of 2 approaches. The approach is, it's here and we got to deal with it, or it's here and we're going to ban it. I'm sort of more in that it's here and we got to deal with it and learn from it and work through it. What's fascinating is all sorts of things are happening at the collegiate and post, or like graduate school level. So the Wharton School of Business at Penn is really sort of top notch, maybe ranked the highest in the country. And ChatGPT took a final exam and got a C+ or something, right? So that's interesting. But then I don't remember if it was Michigan or some other place, somebody was using it and got caught, and then they got in trouble for plagiarism. And then a college student down at Princeton, and this is really fascinating, initially it was thought that it would be undetectable for plagiarism because it's new content. But a college student at Princeton, whose I think parents were teachers, decided this was gonna really mess up their lives. So he crafted some software to analyze it, and it sees patterns in it that aren't natural. And now he's sharing that. Oh, he's not selling it. He's sharing it for free so that teachers can use it to analyze work created by artificial intelligence.
And PBS this month, usually at least once or twice a week on their nightly newscast from 6:30 to 7:30 has a segment on AI. And they've had the couple, and they had a professor who has already is for it, very much for it in his classroom. But he had some kids who had an exam and they didn't obviously do it until the last minute. And he said it was very easy to see. It was well written, but he said it included material that he had never covered in class.
Yeah.
And he said it was so well written that there are ways, if you're sharp enough, you can see patterns. And he mentioned there's a high school kid that also is working on a program.
Yeah.
So if people are listening, I don't know how you get PBS if it's over the month. You can get it online, I guess. And there are segments. And it is, he's not for banning it. We'll have to face the problem.
Yeah, no, and we might even have to make a policy at some point, right? But it's interesting and it's worth paying attention to.
When you were in school, Rich, I remember, what was the program that kids would copy a paper and we'd go in, Cara had it in the library, you could submit it and you take 2 sentences out of your paper and you put it into, you put it into the computer and the computer immediately gives you the source. Because I did it with a student. I found a review that the kid had done. I put the words in and boom, the article came right up. It was from the New York Times.
Yeah, that was after my time. I'm old school Cliff Notes, man. Go to Brooks and buy the yellow Cliff Notes.
Yeah. So that, but just interesting to pay attention.
Yeah.
Old or new business from the committee? Any public comment? And Peter, you let me know if you see a hand there.
So I'll give you a second to raise your hand if you'd like to make a public comment.
I will note that the committee has received no written communications.
I'm not seeing any raised hands.
With no raised hands, the meeting will stand adjourned.
Okay, thanks, everybody. Have a good night.